Hey there, welcome. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up. It'll help my channel grow. And if this is your first time to my channel, I hope you consider subscribing. And don't forget to click on that bell button so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. So today we're going to make pretty simple and quick DIYs. I try to make them as simple as possible. What we're going to use is a poster board, some rope, and a pencil and your scissors for your first project. And what you're going to do is basically cut a piece of the string or rope that you're going to use to actually make your circle shape in the bottom of this poster board to make your triangle or your cone. And what I do is basically just try to eyeball how long I want my or how big I want my cone to be. And then I try to figure out from where I want the rope to start or my circle to end. And then I just start tracing it out, pulling the rope from the one corner. Holding the rope from one corner of your board, and then just basically drawing out your half a circle. And you can't draw anything else as long as you're just holding your rope. So just go ahead and trace out your cone. And my cone ended up being 22 inches tall. So it's pretty tall. It's a pretty big cone or tree once we're done with it. What I ended up using with the leftover poster board, I just went ahead and glued it what's going to be the inside of my cone. And I did that because I wanted it to be thicker and sturdier. So I just used whatever leftover poster board I had and just glued it to the back or the inside of my cone. Go ahead and cut off any of the excess poster board that you can see through the opposite side, which is going to be your outside of your cone. Once you've done that, what I did was I ended up rolling my entire cone just because it was a little bit too thick for me to roll once. So I just rolled it all out, and then I shaped my cone to the size and the width that I wanted. The bottom to be as basically it's just to make sure that you make it as wide or as narrow as you like for the bottom of your cone or your tree once we're done. So just go ahead and add some hot glue, roll it over it, and then there you have your cone. So what I did was what I'm going to use is I used a tray and I added these confetti. I think it's called straw confetti. I'm not too sure. I'll make sure and write it down below. But I had a few packages of these of different projects that I've been using. So I decided to go ahead and use the darkest one that's in this package, which is a package of 3. And I want to say it's like a black grayish color. So I had, again, 4 packages. For this project, I ended up using 2 and a little bit of the 3rd package. So you don't really need 4. I just didn't know how many I was going to need. So I just went ahead and set aside all the black ones that I had. But I started off with just using 2 of them. And you'll see I just set aside the other 2 packages. This was the easiest way I found to make this. If you know a simpler way, one of my friends told me I should have used a cookie sheet. That way I could have just rolled the cone into the cookie sheet. I could have, but I didn't think about that when I was doing it. But if you have any other easier way to do this, let me know in the comments down below. So what I did was get some Mod Podge and just with the paintbrush, painted on little sections of the Mod Podge to my cone. And then I just sprinkled over the glitter or the little confetti onto my cone and just making sure it was nice and full. Trying to cover all the space of the Mod Podge that I possibly could. And remember, the Mod Podge is going to dry up clear, so you don't have to worry about that. Just go ahead and add as much as you can. And every so often I would pat it down and then shake it off any of the excess. But I just continued doing this until I was happy with the amount that I had put in that little section. And then I just continued adding Mod Podge in little sections and continue spreading the confetti around the Mod Podge. Now, one thing is I did, when I did paint Mod Podge to the second little section, I made sure I butted up to the first section that I already had, so you wouldn't see lines of me, like the strips of Mod Podge. So I kind of went into the area where I already had the Mod Podge. If you see, I kind of patted it in there to make sure that it was all even coated and not in little sections or lines. So you just continue doing this all the way around your cone. It's a little messy, this DIY, but it is pretty fast and easy to make. So you can make these any color. I know Dollar Tree right now has this kind of confetti, but I believe it's in green and red, and I can't remember if it's gold, but you might want to use those colors as well. These were the ones that were here in Dollar Tree when it was fall, these colors that I have. So just go ahead and continue adding your Mod Podge. Now, where you put this, where you glued your cone together, make sure you add Mod Podge in between. If there's any little gap where you glued your poster together, just to make sure that you have an even seamless line. And as you can tell, I'm running out of my 2 packages. So this is where I end up using a little bit of the third package, just to make sure I get it nice and full and complete right here in this little area. I was determined not to open the third package because I just didn't want to, but I ended up doing it anyway because once I kind of looked at it right, I wanted to make sure everything was nice and full. So once you're done with that one, go ahead and set it aside. Get your cone. If you don't want to make a large one, like I did with the poster board, I went ahead and got one of these foams from Dollar Tree, the triangle or cone kind. And I ended up using the copper color and a little bit of the gold. I mixed it together because I was scared that the copper color wasn't going to be enough, and I only had 1 bag of those. So what I did was the same process, add Mod Podge to your cone, and this one, since it's small enough to roll in my tray, that's what I did. I went ahead and just patted it down. So this one went by really, really fast. You can do this one in like 5 minutes. So you go ahead and set those aside once you're done completely filling them up with your confetti. Now our second project, I had this large wreath that the longest wreath, or the biggest circle, I'm sorry, of this wreath kind of pulled apart from the connection. So I decided to go ahead and just cut this wreath all apart. And I'm going to keep the other rings for different projects. But this project, I'm going to use the largest one. Of course, you can use whichever size you like, depending on what size of wreath you want. So again, I used the larger one, and I'm just going to use some of this twist tie garland, some cones, and some of the sticks that I have, the picks I believe they're called, that I had from Dollar Tree with the berries and a little bit of greenery and kind of like a stem type thing on it. So I used 2 of those stems and then 2 of these twist tie garlands. Basically just twisting the 2 garlands around your bottom of your ring, or what's going to be your wreath. I didn't add any glue to it, basically just twisted it around since it has wiring. I just at the ends twisted the wiring around and made sure it was nice and secure. Now with the picks that I did pull them apart, and all I'm going to do is start twisting them around and adding a little bit of glue wherever I thought it needed it. Some glue or some extra secure. And just go ahead and continue adding all the greenery, your pine cones, your berries, anything you'd like to add to this part of your wreath. You can make this as simple or as much as you like, or as glamorous as you like. I didn't want it too much. simply because I wanted to add a big bow to it. So I just added a little bit of greenery. And just play with all the stuff that you're adding onto your wreath, making sure it's the way you want it to be and lay right. Again, I'm just twisting everything around, but if you need or you can't twist it around, go ahead and add some hot glue and just insert it wherever you like and just hold it for a few seconds to allow it to dry and stick to whatever greenery or your actual wreath itself is, wherever it's going to stick at. And now I'm adding some more berries. Basically the same stem of berries. I'm just cutting it in little sections and adding it in different areas of my wreath. This is a great project, again, to use all the little pieces that you have left over from larger projects, all the greenery, berries, pine cones, because I know we end up with a little container full of little, just one piece of something and one piece of something else. And this right here is a perfect way of using all those little items. So in the center, I thought it needed a little bit more greenery. So I had this little piece of the twist tie garland, and I just cut it in sections and little pieces and glued it onto the center in between my pine cones, just to give it a more fuller look. Now, once you're all done and you're happy with the way the bottom looks, what I decided to do was add some words, a wording in the middle. Now, this package comes 3 in a package. It says joy, peace, and believe. I wasn't sure which one I wanted to use. Rather use the believe or the peace. I wasn't too sure, but I ended up going with the peace wording. So what I did was basically, I'm showing you with the believe, is just going to glue it wherever you like. And how I glued it on was just adding little dots of glue to wherever I know it's going to stick to my pine cones. Basically, I put it where I wanted it to be, just like you see right here. And then I kind of just looked at where it was getting stuck at, and then I just glued it on. And I'll show you that in just a few minutes. But first, I wanted to go ahead and start making my bow. So I'm using some of this raffia, I believe it's called, red ribbon that you can get at Dollar Tree right now. And I just cut it in roughly about 8 inches strips. And I cut 4 strips of each one of these ribbons. And you can cut, again, as many as you like or as little as you like, but I cut 4. And then I had the green mistletoe ribbon and the green ribbon as well. The green ribbon I found at my local thrift store. It's one of those velvet ribbons, which I love. So I ended up using that as well. And that's one thing you can always look for at thrift stores is ribbons. You may not have a complete roll of ribbons, but they're usually, I mean, at least at my thrift stores, between 25 cents to $1, which isn't bad for different styles of ribbon. And you can find a lot of really adorable vintage ribbons as well. And I ended up using this checkered red and white ribbon that you could get at Dollar Tree right now too, to make sure that I had a smaller ribbon to add in the center as well. Now, how I'm doing this bow, is basically just gluing each one of the strips of ribbon just wherever, however I like it. Really wasn't a pattern, but I did do the red checkered, the X first. Then I put 3 of the berry ribbons or burlap ribbon, and now I'm adding 2 more, or 1, of the red ribbons again. And then I'm going to do the green. So basically you just add them however you like, and all you're doing is just crisscrossing them. So I did 2, 3, 1, and now I'm doing 2, 1, and then I'm going to add the smaller ribbon what's going to be in the very top of my bow. Again, this is complete preference. You do whatever you like, however you like. I had a little bit left over of the green. You don't have to glue all your ribbons that you glue together. Here, what I'm doing is just pulled it apart and cut my ribbon to make some more tails. And I don't know how or what this kind of bow is called. Basically, it's like a side bow, I guess you want to call it. It's not completely round. It's a flat bow. If you know what it's exactly called, let me know in the comments down below. I just call it like a side bow or a flat bow because it's just basically one-sided. And now all I'm going to do is I added my pine cone and I'm going to glue it onto my ring or the wreath itself. Now make sure you put quite a bit and you allow it to dry completely. Now I did add more glue to the back of this ribbon or this bow once I was completely done cutting and removing and redesigning and shaping everything, making sure I liked where everything was at, and just cutting the tips of all my ribbon just to give it better look and a more finished look. Now you can add a piece of burlap or something to the back of this ribbon or this bow just to make sure it stays secure. But the way I did it, it stayed nice and secure with just adding hot glue. Now you can just, I'm kind of figuring out where I want my wording to be at. At first I had thought maybe in the middle, then I thought maybe on top of the bow, but I ended up adding it to the center of my 2 pine cones. And here is where I'm showing you where I just add a little bit of glue to the bottom of my wording, where I know it's going to stick to my pine cones and also some of my greenery. And just hold it there for a few seconds just to make sure it stays dry. And then you just add glue wherever you see fit. Like for instance, right here where the peace sign, where the P is at, I noticed that the garland touches it. So what I did was add a little bit of glue to the end of my P and add it to my greenery, which is going to make it a little bit more secure. So you just continue doing that until you see that the wording is nice and secure and it's glued wherever it possibly can be glued, where you wouldn't notice it being glued. And there you have an adorable, beautiful, what I call beautiful ring wreath. And all I did was pick a ribbon and I added it to the top or the center of my wreath just so I can hang it up. And this is the way I'm going to hang mine. And this is how it looks outside. So what do you guys think? Which one was your favorite, the wreath or the glamorous Christmas trees? Let me know in the comments down below. Until next time, you guys stay blessed. Bye.